The TEFL Commute, Season 3, Episode 2, in which we discuss everything from A to Z about the alphabet.
You're listening to the TEFL Commute podcast.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now say my ABC, won't you sing along with me?
Hey, Shaun.
Hi, Lindsay. How are you doing today?
Fine. How are you?
Oh, well, I started the podcast with a bit of Ray Charles. I mean, you can't really not be anything but happy after that.
I know. What a great little bit. What was that on?
It was. I think it was a Sesame Street. You know, I think when you think about alphabets, I always think about Sesame Street. And there's so many famous singers have done the alphabet song on Sesame Street. But for me, the Ray Charles version is just, the definitive version of the alphabet.
Wow. If there are, actually, we probably should mention, if there are listeners who, for some strange reason, are not familiar with Sesame Street, it was a famous PBS show, Public Broadcasting Service show for kids in the United States. That's still running, isn't it?
I think it's just restarted again, yeah.
Yeah. Well, something that Shaun and I, and most English-speaking, native English-speaking people will have grown up on.
So
right.
How you learn your alphabet and your numbers, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. With Sesame Street.
And Cookie Monsters and things like that. So
what do you have for us about the alphabet? What are we going to
I like the alphabet. I mean, strangely enough, a couple of years ago, I did a plenary talk about the alphabet, so I did quite a little bit of research into it. With the ABC, I think, song, and people don't realise that song itself is actually based on a riff by Mozart. So there you go.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It originates via Mozart, but it was first copyrighted, if you like those kind of things, in 1835. So that song's been around quite a while.
Is it like the birthday song that if it's copyrighted, that means that you need permission? Or
I believe so. Although the birthday song's no longer copyrighted, is it? You don't have to. They removed the copyright last year, if I remember, so you can actually sing it and not pay anybody royalties. Well, if it is still copyrighted, then the family of Charles Bradley will be quite minted because he's the man that copyrighted it.
So wait a second. This Charles Bradley, where was he from? America?
Yeah, but he's Boston based. He's
Boston. So at the end of it, it ends with Z, then, right?
Yeah, which obviously has got some controversy in itself. Should the alphabet end in Z or Z? You introduced the podcast with A to Z. Is that because?
That's because I'm Canadian, and Canadians.
The Canadians have a mixture, don't they?
They do, but the British English things that they stick to like incredibly. So it's like, no, it's Z, not Z. There's, they get very, very fussed about that.
And do you know why we have the difference?
Actually, no, I don't. Is this going to be one of those things where originally in British English it was Z and that the Pilgrims brought that over, and then since British English has changed?
No. It's okay. Not actually. That would be funny, but it's not. We took ours obviously from the French, so the old French of Z remains Z in English. We've had it in the British English alphabet since about the 15th century, whereas when the Americans adopted the alphabet, although this wasn't actually... I think it was around the 17th century. They rhymed. They heard it like B, C, D, E, G, and so they added Z to it. And it was Webster of dictionary fame who kind of put the seal of approval on it in 1827. So from 1827, it's officially been Z.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay.
For all these facts at the beginning. So obviously. As I said, I did a lot of research into ABC. One of the things that I found fascinating was, when you're learning English, or if you go on YouTube and look at those videos, you see like A is for, B is for.
Yeah.
So A is for
apple.
B
obviously.
is for
bee.
Yeah.
Is it a bee, like a bee, a bumblebee?
Yeah. What would you say? B is for B. Obviously, for me, B is for ball.
Oh, right. B is for ball. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
C is for
cat.
No, clown. And then what you find out, and I always thought that, obviously I learned the alphabet, I learned that as a kid. And what you find out is everybody learned that song in a different way. And then when you really get into it, you find that there are actual Google and Yahoo discussion groups dedicated to hashing out what
A is for and what B is for
and what D is for. And I think everybody learns it from their school or in their area, and they learn it in one way. But actually, when you start to study it,
do they fight about it?
Yeah,
like are they trolling each other in these groups?
I don't think they're trolling each other in the sense of in like Twitter and stuff. But there's some. This is a couple of years ago when I was in I joined one of these Yahoo discussion groups, verbally saying, "No, this is what it should be. That's what it should be." I was actually doing the research because I can you remember. I think it was last year or the year before on Facebook. No, it must have been the year before on Facebook. The meme, the 21st century alphabet, where A still stood for Apple, but it was a different kind of Apple.
Yeah.
B stands for Bluetooth, and C stands for chat. But it's really interesting. I found the alphabet really, really interesting. How many letters are in the modern day English alphabet?
26.
Okay, how many were there?
You mean there were more?
Yeah, no. It again, if you think about where the English alphabet comes from, obviously hieroglyphs were the start. But if we look at where they developed into language, in the Semitic language, we only had 22 letters from it. Bizarrely, obviously, the English alphabet is kind of based on Latinate. Yet we took alpha, beta to be the alphabet from Greek. And we enhanced our alphabet by stealing Greek letters. So letters like Z and Y are actually from the Greek to make the 26. But if you go back to the Middle Ages, of course, the English alphabet had 33 letters, of which we only lost the last letter just about 100, 150 years ago. So you can see examples of the alphabet at the end of the 19th century, which had 27 letters.
What was the last letter?
The 27th letter is the ampersand, the and sign that you find on the keyboard, on my keyboard above 7.
Okay, on my keyboard it's above 6.
Yeah, really? That's interesting. Given we both have the same type of computer.
Yes.
Maybe right. Have a Spanish keyboard.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's another alphabet thing, is how the letters are laid out on the keyboard. You have a QWERTY, I suppose.
QWERTY.
QWERTY. Have you ever tried typing on a French typewriter?
Oh, well, I used to.
It's hell. It's hell.
Well, I used to live. Obviously, I worked in the Czech Republic for many years, and the Czech keyboard has the V and the W the wrong way around for me. So you just get everything spelt wrong, and Y's and Z's in the wrong place. It's always a mess. But ampersand was the 27th letter of the alphabet, and if you Google the 27th letter alphabet, you'll find that it exists, which stood for and per se originally. And some of my favourite old letters are thorn. I think that's a great name. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, thorn. And thorn, it was the TH sound as a letter. And I think these old letters we now see coming through as in the phonemic alphabet.
So was the thorn the TH sound?
It was a TH sound, but the character for it was like I think to describe it would be with a P, but the kind of stick of the P goes up a little bit. You'd also get yogi, which is like the sound in loch.
Okay.
You get ash, which I think is nice. That's the AE sound, the letter A and E together. And then you've got the ng sound, which you obviously have in the phonetics.
With the N, like the N with like a kind of a longer front to it, like
but that would be eng as a letter. It was ENG. That's how you would say it. So I mean, it is, I think, again, going back to, we always talk about our geekness, but alphabet is one of those things I really like from this reason. There's so much about it that we don't kind of know. We learn it at school and we assume as what it is, but like anything, it's got a great history. And once you know that history and know what it is, you can start playing with it quite substantially. Do you have a favourite letter? I always ask my students, do you have a favourite letter?
Really? Do students say they have a favourite letter?
I think it gets them thinking about it. And it's quite a nice, like...
I've never thought about it.
You know, there are... I mean, these days we don't... I guess I don't write as much, but I think when writing was prevalent, you know, when you sort of learn the alphabet and you learn to spell...
I liked writing S. I liked writing...
Yeah, see, there you go. And I think that's where people get it from. You know, they like certain shapes. And they like the way it feels to write them out. Ask your students next time you're in class what their favourite letter is.
Right. Okay. I'll try that.
See what they do. It's just interesting. And this is one way, of course, to lead into it. And if you like this kind of, there must be a word for it, this graphic representation of letters, then there is a lot of it in nature. So, for example, Time magazine, the beginning of this year, published lots of photos from NASA. When they've been in space, they've been taking photos that represent letters of the alphabet. So you get a beautiful reef, like in Australia, around the coast of Australia, the reef makes the J letter, and there's an island near Bahrain which makes a C letter, and they're beautiful. I really, obviously, the link will be on the show notes and on the website. This kind of imagery of it, and I think this is actually important for teaching. Getting these mental images of letters and getting sense to them.
Wow.
Am I boring you yet?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I'm amazed. You're a wealth of information on the alphabet. Before we go any further, maybe let's take a little break and have a little bit of Facebook wisdom. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
A teacher affects eternity. He can never tell where his influence will stop. Henry Brooks Adams.
I do like those angels.
They're great. It's fantastic. It's like a little bit of Facebook wisdom. Hey, I brought some things to the alphabet discussion too, Shaun.
Okay, got it. Enlighten me.
First thing is a question. Give me a sentence which has every letter of the English alphabet.
That's what's the example that everybody uses? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy, I think it's dog.
Yes, the quick brown fox jumps over a lazy dog.
Oh, a lazy dog. Oops.
It's got every letter of the alphabet, and it's called, I didn't know this, a pangram.
That's right. I've heard that before, because I know a different type of gram, but we'll do pangram in a moment. I'll do that in a moment. So,
other pangrams, but I didn't realize that there were others. I always just thought there was one, but there are other ones. You want to hear them?
Yeah, go on.
All right. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs.
That's just your rider for when you do a conference talk, isn't it?
Exactly. And then here's another one. Amazingly few discotheques provide jute boxes.
Which is also true.
Another one. A mad boxer shot a quick gloved jab to the jaw of his dizzy opponent. And finally, the public was amazed to view the quickness and dexterity of the juggler.
It's funny because they sound like when the meeting between two spies.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. They should meet with pangrams. I'll be wearing a red lapel, and I'll tell you. Pack my box with 5 dozen liquor jugs. Nice. So what was the other thing you had?
Well, so a pangram is using every letter of the alphabet, isn't it? So if you try and write something without a letter of the alphabet, it's called a lipogram.
Oh, you mean like writing a sentence with no M?
Or no E. Yeah. One of the most, I think, the one that seems to challenge people online is rewriting Mary. Mary had a little lamb. You know the nursery rhyme? Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
Yes.
Well, so for example, if you leave out the letter O, you get Mary had a little lamb, the bleached and chalky kind, and everywhere she went, the lamb was really left behind, and so on and so forth. So you've got people rewrite. Yeah, rewriting things without letters, which, depending on the letter, is easier said than done. I mean, obviously, the hardest letter to leave out would be E, because its frequency in English is much more than, say, leaving out a Z or a Q, which are low ones. But let's
try with an advanced class, maybe not to make it rhyme, but to try to rewrite sentences leaving out certain letters.
Well, apparently, it is creative writing sites and courses seem to suggest this as a way of enhancing writing, because it makes you think about different synonyms and stuff like that, which I find useful.
Hey, so what was that called? A lipogram.
Lip as in mouth, L-I-P-O, gram.
Lipogram. So we have a lipogram, a pangram. I'm not going to remember these, but you know what else I have trouble with all the time?
Oh, well, I think it's just because I just said synonym, and it made me think about all those NIM kind of words as well.
Yeah, all those words like homograph, homonym, homophone, all the homo words.
It's a good job that we've got James at hand then, isn't it?
Greetings, Homo sapiens. It's your jargon buster, back again with another missive from the front line of verbal confusion. In this dispatch, I'm looking at a group of words which, while very similar, are far from homogeneous. That's right, it's time to dive into homonyms, homophones, homographs, and heteronyms. Now, I don't know about you, but I always struggle to keep these definitions straight in my head. Maybe you found yourself, like me, saying, "Oh yeah, that's one of those homonyms." I can never remember which is which. Well, today's the day we remember, friends. Okay, let's go. Our first word is homonym. This is a word which sounds alike but has different meanings. For example, fair, F-A-I-R. In my concise English dictionary, this word has 10 different meanings, including reasonable, light, fine and dry, a gathering of stalls and entertainments for public amusement, and in Australia and New Zealand, unquestionable. All with the same spelling, F-A-I-R. If we think about adding the word fair to this mix, that's F-A-R-E, then we get another 5 meanings, including cost of a bus or train ticket and to get along. That's because this spelling of fair is a homophone, a different type of homonym that sounds alike and has different meanings, but also has a different spelling. So what then is a homograph? Well, this is a word that is spelled the same but has different meanings, which probably sounds a bit like what I just said, but take note, there's no mention of pronunciation here. So fair, meaning reasonable, as in that's a fair price, and fair meaning light, as in he's got fair hair, are not only homonyms, but they are also homographs. But because pronunciation isn't important here, it would also include the word bass or bass, which is spelt B-A-S-S in both words, but can mean a type of fish, pronounced bass, or the thing in music that annoys your neighbours, pronounced bass. Are you still with me? Good, because there's one more word for us to learn. A heteronym is a type of homograph that is also spelled the same and has different meanings, but sounds different. In other words, they are homographs that are not homophones, which should sound familiar. That's right, bass and bass are heteronyms, as are the examples. They were too close to the door to close it, and don't desert me here in the desert. So now, after I have presented this linguistic present to you, it's time for you to produce the produce. And if you don't think I've successfully intimated this to you intimately enough, let's not row about it. Until next time, this is your Jargon Buster signing off.
Thank you, James. It's clear now in my mind for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'll have to replay that podcast a lot to remember. I will always dread that when I'm doing kind of teacher training and you stand up to go, no, is it a homophone? Is it a homograph?
Oh, I know.
It's kind of like, but graph phone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hey,
where were we? Yes, that's right. Terminology overload.
Terminology overload. Let's talk practical stuff then. Hey, so you said you like the alphabet. Obviously, you like talking about facts of the alphabet. What about teaching the alphabet? I'm actually teaching a group of beginners right now, and I love the alphabet lesson. Like, you can do 45 minutes solid just teaching the alphabet. And with Spanish students, it's so much fun because so many key letters are really different. So like the English I is E in Spanish. So that causes immense problems. E, and then the A is A, loads of stuff. So we end up spending tons of time on the alphabet. What about you? Do you like teaching it?
I used to. You know what? I don't. I haven't taught beginners or low levels. I think it's a lesson that is attributed more to lower levels of English than high levels. That's not to say it shouldn't be done, because I mean there is always sound practice. Especially in British English, the link between the letter and then the sound is an important one to look at. But
That's true. And I think also it's interesting because alphabet stuff gets neglected after beginner level. You do it at beginner, you get them all doing that and stuff. But then I see like intermediate students, B1 level students, who when I ask them their email or something, they really struggle sometimes with the letters.
Yeah.
And I think you haven't practiced for a couple of years, have you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so.
And in this day and age, I think spelling is actually probably more. It's got quite a heightened importance because we speak so much with mobile phones and so on and so forth. So actually being able to say all those things, I think there's warrant practice. And I think we forget as well, from coming from another angle. I said before, one of the things that I think is important is to actually realise our differences in alphabet. So when I taught in the Czech Republic, I remembered, and was doing a lot of dictionary work, getting the students to look in dictionaries and work out stuff. But the students would, in Czech, the letter CH is a letter in itself in the alphabet. So the students if you give them an English dictionary and tell them to look up church, they wouldn't look under C.
Okay.
So they'd be looking for the letter CH in the dictionary. So I think
like at the end of the C's.
Yeah, so it actually is after that from it. So I think it's important. I think alphabet work in that sense we need to look at different levels because it has an impact on other skills with it. So so what's your favorite game? Do you do spelling games? Do you do?
Yeah, we do spelling games. I mean, I come from a North American education tradition, so I had spelling bees when I was at school, where we had to get up and you keep going with lists of words,
infeasibly difficult words that no one ever needs apart from
exactly. That you can find tons of lists like that. So I do kind of modified spelling bees, but I also like doing things. One really simple thing that my students they couldn't get enough of it. Just saying the alphabet together, like a letter at a time or two letters at a time. So like they would sit in pairs and one would go A, B, the next one would go C, D, E, F, so on. Then they would do it 3 letters at a time. And then we tried doing it backwards. And that was hilarious because they suddenly, in fact, I found myself going really slow. If you try to recite the alphabet backwards, is actually
it is difficult because it's one of those things it's also it's frustrating because it's one of those things you think you should be able to do, but it's so we don't do it that way usually.
No, exactly. So even if you try to do it quickly, like Z, Y, and then I'm already blocking myself.
I remember you're being recorded.
Yes. Well, that's another interesting thing. For one of the course book, I wrote a beginner course book once, and we had to do the recordings, and I was in the studio. And at a beginner level course book, lots of the recordings are really, the actors are just reading out words or numbers or letters, the alphabet. And we'd ask the actor to read the alphabet out slowly, letter by letter. And really enunciate them because they had to be a repeat pause. So the students were going to be listening and repeating. The actor, halfway through the alphabet, forgot what the next letter was because he was concentrating so hard on his diction. So he's like, because at the first he's like, I don't need a script. This is just the alphabet.
Yeah, it's the alphabet. I should be able to do
somewhere around R. He suddenly just blanked and looked in panic and was like scrabbling around for the paper to see what the next thing to say was. It was very funny. Saying the alphabet together. Another one that I really enjoy doing is, and I do this with higher levels, is when I take attendance by spelling the students' names. So I say S-H-A-U-N, S-H-A-U-N, is S-H-A-U-N here? And they have to kind of listen carefully and then call out if they're here. So that's another.
No, I've never done that. That's actually good. That's a good one. Yeah. But I guess you have to do that in a random order so people don't.
Otherwise they kind of know. So getting them, and then I get them to later on, someone come up and take the attendance by spelling out the names. If you have more than 10 students in the class, that can get really long and
that's 45 minutes filled.
Yeah, that's right. Now time to go, guys.
Yes, send the register. Right, homework.
Also, I enjoy doing those dictations of acronyms, like BBC, CIA, FBI, partly because in Spanish language, those acronyms are sometimes pronounced not as individual letters.
Oh, so they're actually
CIA is the CIA.
Yeah.
And the DEA is the Drug Enforcement Agency is the DEA.
So do you do that with things like com.com, those kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, I mean, I actually, when you were talking at the beginning of the episode about how we had other letters, I almost now do teach some of those symbols like dot and at as part of the alphabet. When we do the alphabet, we always do emails. So I always include in that lesson at, dot, com, and so on. So, yeah, dash.
Alphabet lessons also for me are a good kind of remind me of my childhood, because it's all those games you played on long journeys of valuable kind of alphabet practice, like I Spy and those kind of things. You know, I Spy on my little eye, something beginning with E. You know, almost forgot my alphabet. Yeah. So I quite like doing those things in class, or I went to market and I bought, and people buy things with the same letter with it, which is, I think, it's one of those things that you can do a lot of fun practice with without a lot of preparation, actually, more than anything else. And I also like getting my students obviously taking photos of letters and things beginning with letters. So you give them a letter for homework and they have to come back with photos on their phone of things.
That's given me a great idea. I've got a WhatsApp group with one of my classes.
Yeah, that works brilliantly.
And I'm going to assign that as a WhatsApp task during the week. That for like Monday is going to be the letter, I don't know, W, and they have to photograph things beginning with W.
Exactly, and they put them into the group and treasure. We do it as like scavenger hunts. So the ones that get some extra prizes. Yeah, no,
a great idea.
There's a team. Well, I'll write that up as the end of pod activity came early there.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABC. Come along and sing with me.
I'll never remember that. How does it go again?
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
That'll do.
No, it won't do. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P.
That's a bit I'll struggle with. It's too much.
Do you mind if I give you some alphabet jokes?
Oh, go on.
Well, actually, the first one I'm going to give you is not a joke, but I think it's one of my favourite one-line. Well, it is a joke, but it's in the Edinburgh Fringe. You've heard of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, where all the comedians go, and every year they rate the one-liners that they have there. And this was from last year's show. I can't remember who said it, but I'll put it on the website. So I'm good friends with 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. I think that's a brilliant one-line joke. Think about it, people. Right, here you go. Okay. I'm going to give you a question, and you can tell me the answer. Okay. So, how many letters are there in the alphabet?
26.
No, 11.
Why?
The alphabet. THEAL. Oh. Okay, here you go.
Oh God! All right, hurry up.
What letter of the alphabet has got lots of water?
I don't know.
The C.
Oh my God.
Okay. What? Oh, come on. All right. Which two words contain the most? I've only got 6. I'll pick my favorite 6. Which two words contain the most? Which two words contain the most letters?
I don't know.
Post office. All right, one more before you get really angry at me. Why is the letter E like London?
Why is the letter E like London, John?
Because it's the capital of England.
Oh my God! Actually, that one isn't so bad. That was okay.
Oh dear me.
Oh dear. I think this is the right time to call this podcast to an end. We've reached the Z's.
We've reached the Z's. Well, anyway, we should say that this podcast was brought to you by the letters T, E, F, and L. And that's all from me. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
As your commute is coming to an end, here's another idea that you can use in class. We've already mentioned quite a few activities during the episode, but here's one of our all-time favourites, the alphabet board race. Go into class and ask the students to tell you the alphabet. As they do, write up each letter on the board. Leave enough space next to each letter for words to be added later. Divide the class into teams and get them to stand in lines in front of the board. Give each team something with which to write on the board. Tell them you'll give them a topic, perhaps one they covered recently in the lesson, and they have to write one word for the topic for each letter of the alphabet. After they've written one word, they give the writing implement to the person next in line, and so on. The team can add words in any order. Set a time limit for the game. At the end of the game, the team assesses how they did, discarding any wrong answers and wrongly spelled ones. The team with the most correct answers is the winner. If you don't want to play this as a board race, you can ask students to work in small groups in their notebooks. Make sure they write down the alphabet before they start. You can find the instructions for this activity at our website, TEFLcommute.com. You've been listening to the TEFL Commute, an original podcast produced and presented by Lindsay Clanfield, Shaun Wilden and James Taylor. Don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing to us on iTunes and by visiting us at TEFLcommute.com.
Serious question, right? Why do we have the letter K? The letter K makes a K sound, but so does the letter C. Do we really need two letters that make the exact same sound? It's the letter C that we don't need because, right, the letter K always makes a K sound, unlike the letter C, which only usually makes a K sound, like in the word cat, but it also sometimes makes a S sound, as in the word decide.